Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. So, obviously, the biggest part of this episode, or probably the most interesting part, was the court scenes. And I guess if I had to sit there and summarize it up in a few words, it would be everything that Dante and Christina did up until this point, or the stuff that they did before, came back to bite them in the ass, right? Rick had this interesting approach. And in some ways, you can kind of look at it like they could have really skipped that part. Like him being really nice to um, Christina to sit there and establish that, that he's sympathetic. Okay, I guess I get it. Because Ava was like, why? Like, what are you doing? I'm expecting the shark version of you. And he want to go ham right off the bat. And he definitely went ham on her towards the end. And Dante, because let's be honest, he effed up since get go, right? He should have never been the one to sit there and arrest. Um, should have never been the one to sit there and arrest Ava. He should have never been the one to sit there and question her, because Rick pretty much proved that it was a conflict of interest, and he used very poor judgment doing what he did. Yeah, there was a couple of times where Ava changed her story and stuff like that, and she didn't look favorable. But you had an arresting officer that should have never been sitting there dealing this much with this whole handling Ava. So he gets her back on the stand again. And one of the things that Rick tries to prove is how volatile she can be and, her memory and everything. Like, long story short, he proved that she remembers stuff where she wants to remember it, but then forgets other things. So she forgot when she threatened um, Ava more than once. The first time at the hotel, the second time at the Port Charles Grill. But she vividly remembers Ava pushing her out the window. Like she keeps sitting there saying that, right? And in reality, she tries to make it seem like she pushed her with the intent, like she intentionally pushed her. Like this is what she wanted to do. She wanted to push her. She wanted to kill her. And instead, it's like they're looking at it like, okay, yeah, she pushed me, but it was clearly an accident. Like they were fighting. She pulled away. She started walking away, and Ava wouldn't let her go. But she keeps claiming to the fact that she pushed her on purpose, making want to make sure that she paid. And she also established that when Christina was sitting there talking about all the stuff that she did as far as Morgan and everything like that, stuff that she didn't pay for, she's like, oh well, you're gonna pay for something. So it made her testimony, or it made her, I guess, look, I don't know how to sit there and describe it, but it didn't do her any favors. I will sit there and say this much. It was kind of hard to sit there and watch him go into her, blaming her for this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Because here's the thing, she's already blaming herself because she should have never been there. And that's exactly what Rick sat there and says. Like, you have very poor judgment. You want to sit there and talk about mother's instincts and this, that, and the third, yet you're the one that sat there and went to confront her. If you wouldn't have been there, you were already almost due. If you would actually just stayed your ass home, none of this would have wound up happening. So why you want to sit there and try to look for somebody to blame? At the end of the day, it's in the mirror. Also, she does sit there and say that, yeah, listen, at one point I want to sit there and give them the child, but then, I want to sit there and keep my baby. And Rick is like, you do realize that it wasn't just your baby biologically, it was also TJ's. Showing a little bit of selfishness in her. By the way, I don't know who prepped her. Well, Alexis and I think Molly prepped her, but they didn't really do such a good job. So when I was in college and I was in a law class, one of the things they always sit there and tell you whenever you're on the stand is never give more information than whatever they sit there and ask you. Don't sit there and start going on and on and on and giving them more information than you need to. Because a lot of times, if when you watch that, you saw it kept backfiring. That's a very basic thing. That's something that Molly and Alexis should have definitely coached her on. So I'm kind of just like, and also, he did manage to rile her up, which I guess there's no amount of preparation you can sit there and do for that, but they really kind of did not do such a great job. And you see in the previews that Molly's like, hey, listen, if Ava goes free because of her, she's never going to forgive herself. Like, well, you should have probably prepped her a little bit more better. I mean, at the end of the day, again, all their actions, Dante and Christina's, came back to bite them in the ass. So you gotta sit there and wonder, is Rick really such a good lawyer, or did they just F up this case before they even got to the trial? Um, so Lucky and Liz are talking, and Lucky's like, well, it depends, if I leave, because I got to sit there and help you out. She talks about how she was the last person that logged into whatever medical stuff to sit there and treat um, Sam. So that they're saying that, they're really good at their jobs, but at the end of the day, they're human. So that's why they're sitting there questioning her. And she says like she's competent and stuff like that, but I guess the medicines are kept like next to each other. So errors can wind up happening. But also Lucky says that he's going to sit there and start questioning people. Since he used to be a detective just to help her out, he gets a call from Turning Woods. And when they get there, Lucky's like, what the hell wound up happening? How did somebody in a coma wind up just, you know, disappearing? Then he finds out one of the visitors was Cyrus Renault, and he's pissed. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Because that was the person that put his sister in a coma for, I guess, like 4 or 5 years. And I know at some point Lucky's going to sit there and look at Laura and be like, why was he actually okay? Why was he approve for visiting Lulu out of all people? Now, if it was Martin Gray, okay, fine. But Cyrus? Yeah, this Sasha and Maxine. Most of this conversation is very fluff in the beginning of their interaction. Sasha didn't even sit there and take the test yet because she's worried that she's going to be pregnant and it's going to add a lot of stress to her. And I'm like, you're getting stressed out. You don't even know if you're pregnant or not. Then there's this whole scene with James, and I guess I'm supposed to sit there and prove that, hey, listen, maybe she's not ready, but seeing how she's doing it, she can maybe get ready or she could be more on board. I mean, she's also afraid of losing a baby, like she lost Liam, but I'm like, you don't even know if you're pregnant yet. So, like, you have all these fears for something that you don't even know yet. And long story short, she is pregnant. I'm not gonna lie, this is a very, very shitty time for Chad Duell to sit there and be stepping away from this show at this point in time because it's not just the drama that's going on between Drew and Willow. Remember that episode where Michael found out about the kiss, but it was played by somebody else? The energy was totally different. Yes, I'm not sitting there saying that because the other guy was there that they changed it around, or you had a different reaction because Michael or Chadwick being there would have had that same reaction, but us as the audience would have felt a lot more different about it. That's the thing. And now you got Sasha that's pregnant, but Chadwick is stepping away. So it's like, and it's granted this happens all the time. You gotta sit there and change stuff around or whatever. Um, and it is what it is. But just on the side note before I get to the rest of the review, back in the day, before the internet was the internet and we knew a lot more stuff than maybe we should have known. If they had to change the scene around like that and that happened, we would have been nothing wiser. And I think that we would have probably been like, it wouldn't have been as alarming. Like it's alarming now because we know that he's stepping away. If we didn't know that he was stepping away and they went with this story and they had to change stuff around and we didn't know, I don't think it would have been that much of a big deal. Yeah, it would have been like, wow, it really sucks that he's leaving or he's dead or whatever. But because we know, it kind of changes the game. It's like, but I didn't know that Nathan, the actor that played Nathan, chose to quit as opposed to him being fired or whatever. Like if I didn't know any of that and he just died every time Maxie or somebody would have talked about him, I would have been a little more, I don't know, maybe sadder about it. But because I knew that he chose to leave, I didn't care. You know? I don't know. I know it has nothing to do with this review, but it kind of does because now she's pregnant and there's going to be no Michael. And they don't plan on um, recasting him. They might use the other guy for a little bit, depending on how soon he left. But after that, that's pretty much about it. And that's the part that's really detrimental to the story. I say it's detrimental to the story, but if the guy chose to leave, it could have been for a number of different reasons. And knowing what I know, or people knowing what they know, I would like to think that we would want him happy. We would want the actor happy, even at the cost of the story. Um, the conversation with Lulu and Cody, I'm going to be honest, I generally did not care about it whatsoever. Um, because every time they kept talking, it's like they kept talking around in circles, or Lulu brought up like some sort of boyfriend or whatever that she was kind of leaving from and stuff like that. Um, Especially when she found out, or Cody was like, yeah, I live in Port Charles. Because I can see the conversation going in the way of like, oh, do you know who Sonny is? Or have you ever heard of Luke and Laura? Or anything like that. Like, Lulu has parents that are infamous, or friends that are infamous, like Sonny. Sonny is a family friend. Oh, do you know Sonny or whatever? Like I know you heard of Sonny or whatever. That could have pieced it together a lot faster, but they wanted to sit there and keep it a mystery of who Lulu is to him. So they kept talking in ways where it's like the conversation wouldn't really sit there and connect to, oh, you know who Sonny is? Oh, do you know who Dante is? Oh, yeah, I was married to Dante. And I think that's the reason why it just comes across as like, yeah. Anyway, he drops her off, gives her some money and a lollipop since she was complaining about um, lollipops out of all things. I'm like, you should be lucky that not only did this guy chose to pick you up, because picking up a random stranger is just as dangerous as hitchhiking, but the fact that you sat there and said, oh, I don't like this flavor. Do you have anything that's a little more of a realer flavor? It's like, I don't know, it's supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek joke, or maybe that was a callback, but I was kind of just like, yeah, I am really not feeling this conversation. Anyway, he drops her off. She goes back to the house, and, the door's locked. Which I'm like, yeah, of course the door's locked. The door should be locked. Because if it's not locked, it should be locked. But she does sit there and pick up the key um, to unlock the door. Now, I'm just wondering how long is it going to be before she is reunited with her family and friends? Like, how long is that actually going to sit there and be? I remember back in the day, they used to do stuff like that, and it would last for like weeks and weeks and weeks or whatever. Kind of like Patient Zero or Patient Six or whatever. They start doing stuff like that, or when at the time, um, Drew was thought to be Jason. They really stressed that shit out. But Lulu doesn't really have a reason to hide. So I'm hoping it doesn't take them as long. Um, yeah, I feel like that's pretty much about it. Anyway, if I forget anything, write it in the comment section below. I'm not going to be doing a live stream tonight because I want Tuesdays to be like my off day, but I will be live streaming tomorrow. So anything that I missed here, we'll talk about tomorrow as well as tomorrow's episode. With that being said, I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next video.